Testing.
Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades with Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoke. Craig is back tomorrow. Mack, thank you. I want to start off with this. We have a bunch of candy on our studio set, and we're doing like an NCAA bracket. And I'm going to make you pick between two candy. Hershey's chocolate bar or Snickers.
Oh, those are, by the way, two of my favorites.
Wonder how
but
I knew that.
If I had to choose one, I'm giving Snickers the edge in overtime.
My God.
In overtime.
In overtime. And they move on to play probably, it looks like Butterfinger.
Yeah.
Now,
Butterfinger absolutely trounced
routed
Baby Ruth in the last
That
round,
was a disappointment to me.
By the way, the best blizzard is a Butterfinger blizzard.
Paul brought that up.
Yes.
Yeah. God.
So that would be a tough choice for me.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Now, the Big 12, I was going to ask you about the schedule, and then I saw a couple of notes that is coming out tomorrow, and you're going to give us who Baylor will play in 2024.
Exactly. How'd you know? How did you know?
I just knew you would.
No, I certainly appreciate being part of the process and being on that small working group with Scott Draper and a handful of other ADs. And I think it's a very thoughtful schedule. We took into consideration a bunch of different things. When you think about time zone and how many times you're playing in a particular time zone and geography, how many times are you going back and forth from east to west, and those two things are really important when you think about how our conference has expanded and it being a national conference. We looked at historic game matchups, and when you think about the Texas schools or the original 8, how many times should we be playing each other? How many times should the 4A American Athletic Conference schools that are in this year, former American Athletic Conference schools, how often should they be playing each other? And then obviously next year, as you mentioned, 2024, how often should the Pac-12 so all of that, and then we also, very similar to the SEC, we looked at just competitive balance and really, ranked the teams and then there's some protected matchups that I won't speak to today, but those will be certainly apparent when it's released. So excited for it to come out, and it's obviously much different than what we've been used to. When you think about, the previous year and, you played everybody. And so, how do you figure out, the two best in the conference championship game? Again, we're going through that this year. But then, I think the future for us is to have some conversation about how many Power Fives should we be playing, right? Should it just be the 9 conference games, or should we continue to play 10? And how does that compare to some of the other conferences? And, all of this relates to when we open up and we, move CFP from 4 to 12. And so, I think, even though it's a 4-year window, I think we're gonna need to probably, think about it after the first 2 years.
Mack, is it similar to the Big Ten model for scheduling?
I would, Paul, it's a great question. And I would say, in theory, it's probably most similar to the Big Ten. What I would tell you, just in recollection and going through all of this, the Big Ten had quite a few more protected matchups than what maybe we have, and so that obviously different, a little bit different pathway. But yes, if I was to take a look at all of the conference schedules, and again, I know the ACC announced yesterday, I believe, and so I haven't had a chance to look at that one. But I would say yes, probably most similar to the Big Ten.
You mentioned the in-state rivalries, and you're about to have one with Houston. Can you say that you'll play everybody that's a Texas school in the Big 12 next year?
I can't really speak to that.
Okay.
I will tell you that there is certainly recognition of those are games that I think our fan bases want us to continue to play, and so it won't be every year, but there is a recognition that those are important matchups.
Mack, the process for invoicing Iowa State for a window, I'm curious about. Do they tell you to get estimates? I mean, you got to get this done in a week. You've got another home game, less than a week. Also, if you can get that done, we've had some windows broken here. If you can get it done in a week, if you could send us the name of that guy who does that, I'm very curious because that's a unique one. I mean, I know that there's been tons of things have happened in coaches' rooms out of frustration and joy and all that, but a whole window gone, that one's new to me.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, "Hey, just add your broken windows to our invoice." So I'm glad you didn't go. I'm glad you didn't go there. But yeah, that one, that one's a first for me. But I appreciate the Iowa State staff, those that were there at the game, immediately reached out to talk to our staff. Jamie Pollard, their athletic director, was not at the game. They were hosting Big 12 cross country championships, so he stayed in Ames. But it wasn't shortly, after the game that I got a text from him apologizing, and all of their administration was quick to react, to apologize, and just let us know what we can do and how we can reimburse you. And so, and again, most thankful that nobody was hurt.
Mack, the losses pile up. The attendance obviously is not the same. You have Houston this week. The season's winding down. How do you, with right now the program the way it is, plan to regain the trust of your fan base and customer base moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and it's one that is on my mind constantly, along with certainly a lot of our staff members. But and you've heard me say this before, so I apologize if it's repetitive, but I certainly know and have an appreciation for our fans and just how frustrated they are. And I think even though it's not a lot of fun to go through, I'd rather be part of a program where you have fans that deeply care, because it's those that deeply care who are frustrated, and so never want to take that for granted. And, I think about the Iowa State game, homecoming, the celebration. Terrible weather, right? Not ideal weather, and we still had fans come on out to McLean. I thought we had a great crowd, and so again, grateful and thankful. And it's when you have fans that have become accustomed to success, and you don't match that. It's hard, and I think about since 2011, we lead the nation in combined wins in football and basketball. You think about the last 10 years of football, 5 of those we've finished in the top 15, and 10 of 13 years we've been ranked, and again 2001 the best season in the history. And so we built a great standard, and when you fall short, man, everybody's frustrated. By the way, including the head football coach and including the athletic director. I think what gives me great confidence is the people we have in place. And since I've been here, every time this program has experienced a setback, it has always responded. You think about 2017, and then the following year, and you think about 2020, and then the following year. And so, I certainly have great faith and belief, and we're working like crazy so that this program responds in a very, very positive way. The goal has to be right in the future to have a program where we have fewer setbacks, and they're fewer and far between. It's a more difficult time to manage that with, the landscape is much different than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And so I think, again, we're navigating that and working hard on that each and every day. And as I mentioned, it's something that, I candidly think about all the time, all the way up until I put my head on a pillow and I wake up in the morning and even in the middle of the night. So, and finally, I just say that, Dave's a great partner in all of this. I love his intelligence, his humility, and his motor. And, he's not sitting tight, right? He's working tirelessly in terms of, how we, finish, but also how we set up and we prepare for next year as well. So, I saw yesterday, this reminded me a little bit about just yesterday and Dabo Sweeney, certainly had a bit of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that underscores, where there are some programs today that are used to winning and maybe having a difficult time of it. But I really believe that we'll respond in a great way, like we have following the 17 and the 20 seasons.
You were at Houston, and you did some good things there, and obviously set them up for some success. Now that obviously Pesman, the AD, we've had him on many times, what it means to Houston to be a part of the Big 12 like the others. You're playing them this week. It renews a rivalry that went on during the days of the Southwest Conference. Your thoughts about how important it is to take care of a newbie and make sure they understand that you and a lot of others were the ones who were part of the original Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly, excited to have Houston as part of the Big 12 going forward. It probably means maybe a little bit more to me since I spent 5 years there, and we were able to do a lot of really great things. And we opened when I was there, they opened up, I guess I should say, a brand new stadium the same time that McLean opened, and really put an emphasis in building infrastructure for the football program to be successful. Houston's a great city when you think about talent, and I think about the history of great players we've had from that area. You think about a Mike Singletary and a Santana Dotson and a Jalen Petrie, and so I think it's really important for us to have that great connection between us and the city of Houston. And I think playing the University of Houston, and having them as part of the conference helps with that connection.
Mac, the Pavilion continues to move along. I know that opening game just around the corner, the first of the year. Your thoughts about the progress? And then number two, I had been told that if the women are in the position to host the first and second round, at least this first year, in the spring of 2024, that would be at the Farrell Center because, the development center is still going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'll speak to that first, and you are exactly right. You've heard correctly that if we're fortunate enough to host, first and second rounds, the NCAA women's basketball tournament, that we would move that back to Farrell. Just again, because the development center and will still be under construction. And what does that mean? That means that we wouldn't have all of the locker room spaces completed yet, to host, 4 teams. And so, that's where it would be played. And, and hopefully that's one last magical, moment in Farrell, if we're able to do that. Obviously, the story was getting the AC turned on in the pavilion, and we were able to do that. So we're still tracking towards our projected, open dates. And, it won't be, 100% completed building. Certainly, on the outside, when we think about landscaping and all of the parking, and then you mentioned it, the back half of the building, the development center will still be under construction. And so, we'll get the keys, to the building, that noon before the game. And then, following the game, we'll have to turn it back over to the construction crew. So, but everything, everything says that we're, again, tracking to play, in early January. And, I've had some people ask, why play the games there, particularly, obviously, the Big 12 games, if the whole facility isn't complete. And so we've certainly had a lot of conversation about that as a staff with the basketball staff. But we think the new pavilion, the arena, will be ready, and that it provides the best environment for our student athletes and for those Big 12 contests.
Is it just in particular, like with that, like even navigating all the things you're going to have to, like you just mentioned, the boost for just the team and the momentum of a student fan base in a new spot is worth the risk of all that other stuff, right? Plus, you have a backup plan anyway.
Yeah, no, we have a backup plan, right? We've got the Farrell Center, but I just think the energy, you spoke to it, Paul, just the excitement and the energy and the anticipation, for both programs to be in the facility, play Big 12 games there. I think, and I think our fans will realize it gives us a tremendous, I think it will give us a tremendous home court advantage. So, if we can do that, then, that's what we're going to do. And again, as mentioned, we're on track to be able to do that.
Mack, you mentioned earlier, and the last thing, and we appreciate your time as always, that as far as what is on your front mind, and then you have an athletic department to run, then you have all this other stuff going on with just college athletics in general. Do you sleep well once you finally fall asleep, or is it one of those where I need to send you some gummies?
Well, the honest answer is I don't sleep well, but I've never slept well.
Okay.
And so, I'm a person that, I think I sleep literally no more than 2 hour increments. I'll sleep for 2 hours and then I'm up, and then, go back to bed for another 2 hours. And that's just kind of the way I roll. So, just the way I guess God made me.
Do you have like a little recorder there, or do you write like it's sticky notes? I've done that. I'm not kidding. I have like a to-do list, and I have it, and I'm always adding to it, whether it's 3:30 in the morning or whenever.
Yeah, I'll do something on my phone, or again, I think we've talked about it, even like when I go back, I go out on a jog. Sometimes the first thing I come in is write stuff down. So, but yeah, and then I'm going to be, there's been some times where like, oh, I'm not writing this down because I've had enough.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Even though I'm thinking about it, but no, that's the way, I guess that's the way God made me. And So the way I roll.
Thank you very much for your time. That's Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, on many things, including trying to make sure that Baylor, as a university and athletic department, football program, because of how bad things have been, and it's been tough, it's obvious, and how they don't completely